Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Ahlan wa sahlan inshallah, and welcome to this, which is our first session in a new course which I'm doing on the art of prophetic persuasion. What we're doing today is going to be quite an interesting introduction to the topic. A lot of people did speak to me personally and said, well, what's this topic about? So people generally have some kind of idea. So my idea is not to actually promote any kind of merchandise. What's interesting about Is Pepsi Okay is there's a hook here. Actually very important in advertising. It's very important in persuasion. It's very important in teaching. Your appearance is important. Your actions are important. Your speech is important. But if there's any problem between your actions and your speech, meaning your conduct, your ethical norms, people will essentially be distant from you. And the key to prophetic persuasion, I believe, is that the Prophet had a perfect balance of this. If you look at the Prophet ﷺ, this is why he sent him with the book. He didn't send the book, he sent him with the book. And essentially, before you come to the book, you see him and you see his, as we said, his physical countenance, an embodiment of perfection. We live in an age where, as Marshall McLuhan said, the medium is a message, and persuaded by a speech given on radio is different from seeing the person and being at close proximity to the person, or being in a khutbah where the imam, kind of almost about to leap off the minbar. So the utility of forgiveness, number 7, this just naturally came out of the Prophet ﷺ. It wasn't a technique in and of itself, but it came out of the character of the Prophet ﷺ. The example I've given here is Suhail ibn Amr radiallahu anhu, who was an arch enemy of the Prophet ﷺ. Suhail ibn Amr, what does he do? He is sent by Quraysh, he negotiates with the Prophet ﷺ. The Prophet is very soft with him, negotiates with him and understands him. He then becomes Muslim. And it's interesting that he was sought by the Prophet ﷺ and the companions because of his enmity to Islam. He comes, and before he comes, the Prophet knows he's going to come. And he says, when he comes, be kind to him. He enters into Islam. Now what's interesting is that Suhail ibn Amr radiallahu anhu, you have this famous situation of the Battle of Ridda, and in Quraysh, in the Qurayshi context, a lot of them are at the point where they're about to leave Islam, and at that point he stands in Mecca and he gives this amazing speech which pulls them all back. And what's interesting about that is, during the Battle of Badr, Suhail ibn Amr was actually taken as a prisoner of war, and Umar, when he saw him, he said, it's actually hilarious, he said, O Messenger of God, give me permission to take his teeth out, or was it 2 teeth? And the Prophet said, leave it, for indeed it may well be that he says something that makes you proud of him. And then that is it. Omar heard that speech. Actually, I'm going to do this next week. I'm going to do this next week, inshallah. This is going to be next week, which is going to be styles of communication, advertising, inshallah ta'ala. And if you've been paying attention, I know you have been paying attention, this is all about persuasion in the context of the Prophet ﷺ, but specifically focusing now on these sessions this morning were about ethos, all about the character of the person seeking to persuade. As I said, it's the key. We'll be looking at the pathos, which will be the majority of what you want to convey is going to be through feeling and storytelling and so on and so forth, which is why I'm going to talk about advertising the Quranic narrative, inshallah, next week. The last is logic. And then we'll also be talking about, as we go in through the course, we're talking about negotiation, counselling, skills that we can glean from the Prophet's way of dealing with people. And then one of the ones I'm really looking forward to is looking at where Muslim narratives of communication, persuasion are really going wrong in the modern age.